Computer Programming Essentials, Unit 4, Part 3. Creating a method that requires multiple parameters. In the last unit, we saw how to create a method that required one parameter, but not more than one. So we can supply more than one parameter. You can recall you've used this before in joptionpaint.showMessageDialog, that each time we call that method, we have to supply two pieces of information. The first is null, that's a reference to the parent window, and the second one is whatever prompt we want to display in that, whatever output we want to display to the user. So that requires two parameters. We list the arguments, and you may have heard me use the term argument and parameter interchangeably. Technically, when we call the method, it's the argument list. When we receive the information in the method header, that's called the parameter list, but frequently people use those terms interchangeably. So we list the arguments within the call separated by commas, and we list the parameters in the method header, again separated by commas, with data type and name, all separated by commas. Our call to the method must match the method header, and the arguments must match the parameters in number and in type. If we are passing one int, we need to be receiving one int. If we are passing an int and a double, we need to be receiving an int and a double. Not a double and an int, but an int and a double. So they must match. There's a one-to-one relationship between the arguments and the parameters. The name of the argument, the name of the parameter do not matter. What matters is there's a one-to-one relationship between the number of arguments and the number of parameters and the data type. So here's an example of where we are passing two doubles to a method called predict raise using rate. We're passing both salary and a rate. Now, we can look at it, if you see where they're highlighted, double salary and double rate, that's where those variables, those parameters are being declared. When we hit the close brace for this method, those guys go away. They're no longer in memory, their lifetime is over. And then the next time we call predict raise using rate, they would be created anew. So here's an example where we use compute commission. In our compute commission method, we've declared public static void compute commission int value double rate char vehicle. So it's a three parameter method. It needs an int, a double, and a char in that order. And if you look at the method call, compute commission value comrate v type, you can look at value, it is an int, comrate, it is a double, and v type, it is a char or character. We are passing in our first call to compute commission, we are passing three variables, int, double, char, and then in our second call to compute commission, we are passing constants, numeric constant and a character constant, an int, a double, and a char in that order. So you can see that the names don't matter, it's just the data type, and that we have the data type and the number. So do we have three arguments? Do we have three parameters? Are they the same data type? And so on. You might want to hit the pause button here, take a moment to create this program, and see if you can get it to work. If you make a few mistakes, that's okay. You learn more from mistakes than success, and it will be really worthy to type this up and see if you can get it running. So go ahead and hit the pause button and take care of that. Welcome back. Let's take a look at creating methods that return values. If we want to return a value from a method, we need to supply a return statement. The return statement will say, hey, this is what I want to return. A return statement can return an expression, the result of an expression. It can return a constant. It can return a variable. And the return type can be any primitive types or reference types. We aren't getting to reference types yet. Or void, which means it returns nothing. We refer to the method's type as the return type. So whatever the data type is that's being returned, we say that's the method type. So in the case of public static void main string args, the type of main is void. It is a void method. Here's an example of a method that returns a double. Predict raise. So with predict raise, we pass it a double salary. We declare a local variable called new amount. We declare a constant called raise, and we do a calculation where we figure out what the new amount is. And then look at that. The very last line says return new amount. So whatever value is stored in new amount will be returned to where the location where this method was called. If we had any statements following the return statement is kind of like go to jail in Monopoly. You don't pass go, you don't collect $200, you go directly to jail. Well, the same is true of the return statement. You don't keep running the method. Once you hit the return statement, that method is over. Any code that follows the return statement is known as dead code because those statements are unreachable. You will never reach them. There's logically no way to get there. So it causes a compiler error. If you have code following your return statement, you will get a compiler error. You can chain method calls. You can put a method call inside a method call. Remember that methods act as a black box. You don't need to know exactly how they work. You just need to know what it needs as far as a parameter list or argument list and what's going to be returned. Here's an example of calling a method that returns something. Predict raise is the name of the method. It's going to return a double. It receives double salary as a parameter. Then we declare two local variables, new amount and bonus amount, as well as a constant called raise. New amount equals salary times raise. Bonus amount equals calculate bonus new amount. Look at that. We've called another method from within a method. From within predict raise, we are calling calculate bonus. Calculate bonus is going to go do its work, whatever that is, and return a value which we will store in bonus amount. Notice that methods that return a value have to be called from the right-hand side of an equal sign, they're a valid R value, or from within, say, system.out.println, from within a println method where we're going to display the result that's returned. In summary, a method carries out a series of statements to carry out a specific task. It's also known as a parameter or a subroutine. The declaration includes the parameter type and local names for the parameters, so your parameter list is included in your method declaration. You can pass multiple arguments to methods, and a method has a return type. That return type might be void, meaning it's returning nothing, but it has a return type. Here's the terminology that you will need to learn. So, I see something missing. Look down there at return type, aka method. It's also known as method type. Return type and method type are the same thing. I apologize, that got cut off. So this is your terminology list. Please go ahead and make flashcards for these terms. You can look up the definitions in your textbook.